Take 4. Here we go. Okay. I'm going to start off with some mechanical stuff that will be good for Cam and just good so that I don't have to explain it later. The first things first, timers. There are 2 timers that you want to keep track of. The first timer is your general mission timer, which is dependent on the ailment that you roll. That counts down from a specific number to 0. If that hits 0, that basically means you failed. There's specific rules as to what that means, but for now, just know it means you failed. Then there's another timer called the foraging timer, which counts from 0 up to however much you need, and it's basically a grace mechanic. If you get really unlucky and roll only 1s, it's there to prevent you from not being able to play the game, so eventually you will get the item that you're looking for. But we'll cover that a bit more in foraging, what it means to get the item. And then there's downtime, which we'll get over in a bit. So the first thing that you want to do whenever you start playing this game is to find out who your patient is and what the fuck is wrong with them. You do that by drawing a card. You draw a card, and the suit of it will tell you what type of patient it is, and the number of it will tell you the ailment that this person has. There are different tiers of ailments. The higher you go in difficulty, usually the better ingredients you need, and the less time you have to do it. But what does it mean to have better ingredients and things like that? Well, take any ailment. Let's say you rolled a 1, you got a wounded. The ailments are wound, 1 star, and pain, 1 star. And you have a timer of 6. So remember, you're going to start at 6. If that goes to 0, you fail the quest. And here's the consequence. You lose a reputation. Again, whole system's in there, but don't worry about that for now. So, ailments are wound 1, pain 1. Once you know this, you are ready to start preparing for where you are going to go. And that gameplay loop basically consists of scrolling down to the various locations and finding ingredients that are a specific star rating at or above the level that you need, and that treat the specific ailments that you're trying to do. So this, for example, Scramble Bamble is a 1 star, which means it treats mood 1 star and senses 1 star. So let's see, senses 1 star, so Scramble Bramble would be good for Druidic Maddening, because it requires a senses 1 star, and this is a senses 1 star. Hopefully that makes sense. But ignoring or having that in the back of your mind, you have access to 4 locations at the start of the game, which is the Grove, otherwise known as the Forest. You have the Loch, otherwise known as the Loch. You have the Mountains, otherwise known as the Mountains. And you have the Hollow, otherwise known as the Dungeon. It's very annoying that the names don't perfectly correspond to the locations, but it is what it is. Besides that, there are also some extra locations that you can unlock in the game by doing other things. Those are the Bog, the Strange, and the Depths. Those are the 3 extra locations that you have access to. You also have access to the Village, which is a half location. It is technically usable, but you're most likely going to be doing stuff with that during downtime, just because it's not the point to go to the Village for things. But you can do it if you need be. But okay. You have your 4 locations: the Forest, the Mountains, the Loch, and the Dungeon. And you know that these are all the various plants and things that are within those sort of areas. However, certain things appear in multiple places. So take coffee caps, for example. This will appear in a forest and in a bog. And then they have this little number attached to them. This number basically tells you how difficult it is to find that item. And a higher number means that it's more difficult. Because in order to find the item, you draw a card, and if the card number is equal to or higher than the number that is listed here in your specific location, you find it. So for example, coffee caps. They have a forest 4 and a bog of 2. Which means that if I'm in a forest, and I draw a card, and I roll, and I get a 3, I do not find it in the forest. But if I was in the bog when I rolled that, and I rolled a 3, I would in fact find it in the bog. That's kind of how that works. It gets really annoying because you then have to keep in track of like, oh, glitter snow appears in the forest, mountains, and strange, but it only shows up in the forest page. I have gripes with it. It's not really as bad as I make it out to seem. You get used to it. It's fine. So, you are here. You have now looked through all of these ingredients, and let's say you found all the sets of ingredients, and they span over the loch, and they span over the mountains. This means that by this point, you're like, okay, I know I have to go into the mountains, or I have to go into the loch first, and then I have to go from one to the other, and that's kind of going to be my route that I take throughout the wilderness to find the ingredients that I need to cure the disease that I need to cure. So you pick one of them, let's say the mountains, and then that is the one that you go to first. And that is a free action, and as soon as you do that, the timer for the potion to be done starts clicking. But it doesn't tick as fast as you would, think. It's not like an actual, like, you have 30 minutes to do it. It's an event-based. So that's kind of the exploration and foraging section, which is now where you have entered into, and I don't know why this is where it is, but we are here now. Okay, cool. So it's the exploration and foraging section, which is a very easy loop. This is on page 30. So, first and foremost, you have an ingredient that you want to grab. So, for example, Cynic Ivy in the mountains. You are going to draw a card because you want to see if you hit this 9 or not. So, you're going to draw a card. Once you draw a card, that has an event attached to it. So, you go to the events table, which starts on page 35, technically. The village events are slightly different, but that's neither here nor there. So, you go to the mountains events table. So, here we go. The mountains. Various events for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way up to 13. And when you draw that card, you read what happens. So, let's say I drew a card and I got 7. This would be the event that happens to me. I can write about it. It might affect you. Some of these events have specific things attached to them, like, for example, losing foraging points or making your timer go down faster, etc., etc. But this is the sort of meat and potatoes of it. You get an event, you write about the event, and then you check to see if that number that you rolled was at or above the number that you needed. In this case, let's say I got a 8. That's not enough here. So my timer would go down 1, and then I would have to roll again, and then maybe the next time I get a 12. So a 12 would be a king, and then I get this, and then I do have enough to get the item, and I grab the item, and I write it down. Once you have exhausted a location, you can then freely move to another location, and that costs 1 timer point, and you rinse and repeat the sort of process of get a card, see what event is attached to that card, and then see if the number on that card is enough for you to get the ingredient, and then move on, rinse and repeat. There is this little extra thing, which is the foraging point that I was telling you about before, your grace system, etc., etc. And yes, that's basically the whole gameplay loop for the game. Once you finish gathering all your ingredients, you then can go back and just make them. There's nothing you need to roll, you just do it. There is a little bit to note here about making them, is that you only start out with 3 tools. So you can only crush things, you can only boil things, and you can only distill things. And then there are further tools that allow you to do more things. For example, a wand. You need a wand in order to be able to collect anything that has the magic tag. So that is this. Anything that has this little magic tag, you need a wand to collect. But that's the kind of the end of it. Once you go back, you then have 2 other sort of events, which is your main sort of story quest and downtime. The main sort of story quest is just very passive. If you ever roll a joker, you progress in the story. Or if you ever finish like a little session that you're doing and you don't roll a joker, then you also progress the story. So it's always somewhat moving at least. This is just going to go on in the background. There's a whole bunch of events that you can go through, and they'll kind of progress through your levels as a witch. Kind of fun. I never got far in it. It is what it is. And then there's downtime. Downtime is quite literally however long you want it to be. There is a brief note that, like, you are technically a witch that is employed. So if you make your downtimes like 3 months, roleplay that nobody fucking likes you because you don't do your job. But also, like, if you need 2 weeks to do a specific, like, roleplay task that you want to do, that's fine. Like, nobody's gonna get up about you. You say the Apothecaria is closed for 2 weeks, and then just, boom, done. You're fine. But, yes, there was a lot here, because, like I said, as I was going through here, there's a lot of small little intricacies that you have to go back and forth and keep track of. So I hope this, at the very least, like, gives you a foundation. The book will be... Although it is somewhat unordered at times, it is ordered enough that you kind of get the gist of it. So I hope this helps. I'm about to watch it back, and if it's good enough, then I will send it. And if not, I am sorry. Wahoo!